Hi everybody, this is Dr. Angelo Gomez, and I'm providing you with some video collections on qualitative research. For today, I would like to share with many of you some of the feedback that I've given to my students in terms of their writing, and at the same time some questions that I've collected from many of them on how to write their dissertation. So I hope this group of 33 questions can be of help to most of you and can give you the guidance that you're looking for. Let's start then. The first question is, what is the difference between first sources and second sources, and when is best to use them? Well, most doctoral students for a long time they have been in the habit of reading textbooks or reading books more than articles. And it happens that when they are writing their dissertation, they want to use those textbooks. Well, actually, it is required for doctoral students, and particularly in dissertation, that they go to the first sources. Most books are written based on an article or a group of articles that authors have published throughout some time, maybe a few years, decades. So it's most important for doctoral students to go to those articles where the information was initially published. At the same time, there is more value, academically speaking, citing or using references that come from peer-reviewed journals, and that would be first sources. Secondary sources is any source that uses information that has been either previously published somewhere else, or when authors draw from ideas from other authors. The second question is, what is coherence and cohesion? Very commonly students hear the feedback that your text is not cohesive. Well, that means that the ideas don't flow together. If you have a section that discusses, for instance, assimilation, the idea is that under that heading, the concept of assimilation will be defined, explained, or some examples about what assimilation is will be discussed. I usually advise students not to mix concepts. If you are presenting a heading with a heading that says assimilation and you want to discuss other items such as socioeconomic status, such as sexuality, etc., etc., if it's not really related, or if you're not capable of relating that exclusively to acculturation, just create another heading. That will help you to maintain the cohesion of your text. What you say you will talk about, you discuss it, and everything you said goes under the umbrella of what your heading is presenting to the reader. At the same time, keep in mind that under every section or subsection, there always should be a topical sentence, a main sentence that kind of captures the main idea that you want to share with the reader, and from which all other possible ideas, examples, definitions, reference, and citations that you provide spring out of that main idea. Very simply, students should underline what is the topical sentence under every subsection. Most readers might not find it, but they need to feel that they are about exactly what you present or say you're going to discuss. That would be cohesion. And coherence, sometimes ideas that you present in different paragraphs may be logic in themselves, but do not blend together under the heading that you have them. So it's very important that when you say something, it relates towards the heading in which that section is found. Also, when you say something, make sure that it's in agreement with the main idea of your text. Sometimes it happens that some students decide to present a study on the acculturation of Latino students in elementary school. However, in different sections of the text, they start talking about Latino immigrants who are adults, Latino immigrants who are single mothers, Latino immigrants who maybe have been here for the second generation. How does that relate to high school students who happen to be Latinos. So make sure that your ideas go together and relate towards the main idea of your text, and at the same time your ideas under every heading do connect with the heading that you introduced them. Number 3, what is a main idea and what is supporting ideas? When you create a text or you present a study, you must have a main concern, a main idea, upon which you build your entire study or from which you draw the entire text. Make sure that you not only you mention at the beginning and you identify it as the main idea, but throughout the text, throughout the chapters, if it's a dissertation, you go back to that main idea and remind the reader, not only by saying it, but showing it that you are still attached to the main idea. If it is a dissertation, to the reason why you have decided to go into the endeavor of a research project. Supporting ideas must be any kind of idea that allows you to support the main idea you propose, and if it is a dissertation, the reason why you are going to pursue the study that you want to do, and how valuable that study is, and at the same time any possible rationale that allows you to justify the study as much as to guide the study that you are proposing to do. How to select a source is another question that I usually have from students. When to do references, when to do a quote. Well, quotes can be good. However, you have to be very cautious. A quote is borrowing word by word something that has already been said. And you have to be very cautious in a limited amount of space, even in dissertation, which can be very extensive. If you are going to borrow words word by word from another person, what is the thinking there? Where is your rationale there? What is your contribution of that? And you have to be very wary about that. Long quotes sometimes steal your time and space to demonstrate how well versed you are on the subject matter. Unless it's a definition or something that has been said by somebody really famous in the field. And there is no other way to say it better than you use a quote. Most of the time, prefer to reference the work, the research, the comments from another source, an author, a study, or empirical study, or a theoretical model. But regardless of references and quotes, everything that you say in academic writing requires a source. We may say something like the sky is blue, and most people would agree that the sky is blue, or that it appears blue to most people, very logically. But in academia, even though something's as logic as we may think that the sky is blue, where most people may agree with that, it's still you require some academic source that justifies that your perception, your statement, your support, your sharing of idea that the sky is blue comes from somebody else in addition to you. It is the job of an academician, an academic scholar, to find those sources, credible, reliable, and trustworthy sources that support even the most logic statement. It goes without saying that whatever inference, statement, or claim, you must have a reference. Not only it supports your statement, but also it demonstrates to the reader that you are well versed in what you are saying. Something very common, some students do not know the difference between a simple, a complex, and a compound sentence. So what does it matter to know about grammar? Well, if you do not know the difference of those things, very likely you are mixing all those type of sentences together. I highly recommend my students to use simple sentence. A simple sentence has a subject, a verb, and a predicate. It allows the reader to better understand what you are saying. When you have complex sentence, that means two sentences, they often go over 1.5 lines, and the reader tends to lose sight of what you are saying. It may look very pretty in a novel when you want to lose yourself in the ideas and the comments that are being presented, but not necessarily it may be a good idea in academic writing that needs to be clear, concise, precise, and above all, logic, beginning, middle, and end. Then we have the difference between most students are confused about passive and active voice. John play with the ball. The dog play with the ball. Those are active voice sentences. But if we say the ball was played by the dog, is a passive voice sentence. Most scholars, most professors recommend not to use the passive voice. First, it changes the emphasis to the recipient. Second of all, most of the time confuses the reader for what you really want to emphasize or what you want to say. At the same time, because it inverts the order, the logical order of the sentence, it gives a more of poetic tone, and that leads to a sense of feelings and emotion that maybe it's not what you intend to do in academic writing. So whenever possible, most of the time, try to avoid passive voice unless you actually want to create a feeling, an emotion that conveys certain meaning that the active voice does not give. But most likely that's not what you want to do. An argument. What is an argument? Very commonly it happens that the students present ideas but not an argument. Present the summary of an article but not the argument. Present a compilation of articles, such as in chapter 2 for instance. Chapter 2 should be the lit review. Most people agree chapter 2 is the lit review for a dissertation. However, what sometimes the students fail to do is to present the argument. The articles that may be selected for the support of a research project that most often are found in chapter 2 shouldn't be like a chuku train of article and findings, but it should be an argument, an idea that is presented as a result of the articles that have been selected. And these articles need to be spread around and organized, and the key word here is organized in such a way that support the statement, the thesis, the proposal of the study, the notion of the study. So most importantly, when writing, present your argument, not the summary. A draft is a summary of a collection of articles, finding empirical studies or theoretical models. A dissertation should be the presentation of an argument that allows the reader to understand the value of your study, the decisions that you make in order to carry out the study, and the significance of that study. A thesis. Every study must have a thesis. Not only is a main idea, because most articles or dissertation has a main idea, but a main idea is general. In this study, I'm going to study the acculturation process of high school Latino students, as I previously mentioned. But a thesis not only says that, but goes deeper and provides more specificity to what is it that you are going to do. If your main idea is to study the acculturation process of Latino students in high school, how is it that you are going to do it? Why should it be done? How is it that Latino, if you define people like Latino, are different from others non-Latino? And what constitutes certain individuals to be defined, identified, or signaled as Latinos? And what does the location of high school does opposite to other groups of or levels of education such as elementary school, middle school, college, or graduate school? So most importantly, not only you need a main idea, but also a thesis, something that says what you're doing it, how you're doing it, why you're doing it. so has more specificity than just introducing the main idea of a text.